Yay!
Welcome to the full spectrum of Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club of Fairfield, Iowa. And now it is my pleasure to welcome up our president, Will Burns.
Yo! Yeah, Will get
Thank you, Vera. And now to start here, I will welcome back several guests. Start with Greg.
Howdy.
Welcome back once again. I see you brought back our trophy. Thank you very much. Well, in this week. And I'm sorry, you have to remind me of your name again.
Raleigh.
Raleigh.
Yep.
Welcome back as well for the second week.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Okay, well, welcome guests, Toastmasters, viewers at home, to another meeting of the Golden Speakers Toastmasters. The mission of Golden Speakers Toastmasters is to foster, is to provide a mutually supportive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth.
Yay!
And now it's my pleasure to introduce Toastmasters.
Yo!
Well, greetings everyone to our own spectral presence trying to make solid of who we are. But of course, that too is an illusion. I, as Toastmaster, will introduce a number of people who will be part of the team. Jean will be the aha counter. Yes?
Yes.
Yes!
Got my roll.
Yes.
I will be counting filler words, words such as so, you know, well, double words, which is sort of a double dribble when you say. I. Now we have lip smack here, but I'm going to just say anything that is a consistent distraction that you do with your body. And, but, things like that, and I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Yay!
The general evaluator will be Will Burns.
We'll see him later.
Rhonda will be will be our
Rhonda. It is Rhonda.
It's Rhonda.
Rhonda, like Rhonda Honda.
Oh, okay, Rhonda Honda. Rhonda Honda, would you like to say something about being the grammarian tonight?
Yes, I chose the word spectral. One of the meanings is of, like, or relating to a specter or ghostly. The second meaning is lacking in solid substance, false or illusory. Well, that's B.
Ha!
Part 2 is of or relating to a spectrum made by the spectrum and analysis, like the colors in a spectrum. And for an example of how it can be used, the town was cloaked in a spectral mist. Moonlight cast a spectral shadow. So I'll be listening for the use of spectral, and I will also note any exceptionally good or bad uses of language, English or otherwise.
Ha!
I will give a brief report at the end of the meeting about what I've heard and observed. And the word of the day will be a competition to see who can use it the most. Thank you.
Yay. Well, thank you. And thank you for your non-spectral presence.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, our timer is Darlene. Darlene, would you like to tell us about our timing for today? We've got some interesting things going on.
Good evening, everyone. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light is turned on at 1 minute. The yellow light is turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds. The red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 4 to 7 minutes. We have an icebreaker speech this evening, so that will be 4 to 6 minutes. The green light will be turned on at 5 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 6 minutes. And the red light is turned on at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. We also have a speech that's going to be 8 to 12 minutes long this evening. Evaluations are 3 minutes. The green light is turned on at 2 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 2 minutes 30 seconds. The red light is turned on at 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the evaluation. All speakers and evaluators have a 30-second grace period after the red light is turned on. And table topic speakers need to speak for at least 1 minute to qualify for votes.
Yay!
And our ballot counter will also be Will with multiple hats on tonight. And now let's start with our table topics and get rolling right into things. Dan Craig, come on up.
Yeah, Dan.
You are not spectral, are you?
Ha!
All right.
Give us a break.
Plug it away there.
Table topics, as you know, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home, is our chance to stand up and speak without any advanced preparation. It exercises a certain different part of the brain, as Jean likes to say. So what I need, I've got these wonderful questions on our theme Halloween. What I need is some willing victims.
All right. Yeah.
Who would like to come up? Who wants to be first? Yes.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right.
You're the only guys without a roll. Ha! Yay!
Yes. I got 4 questions.
Okay.
Pick one of those 1 through 4.
2.
Tell us about some of the traditional activities associated with Halloween.
Okay. In general or my
You
personal
choose.
experience? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Raleigh. I'm here to talk about Halloween tradition and activities you might do on Halloween. Growing up, when I was a kid, Halloween was a mischievous night. All kids, you know, when you're younger, get together in their teepee houses and so forth. On a more adult level, I think Halloween has kind of lost its spark, and people just kind of treat it as another day. People with kids like Halloween, I assume. I don't have a kid. I give up on this one.
Ha! Whoa!
There you go.
Yay!
Okay, how about another willing volunteer?
Well.
Jane wants to play.
Vera.
Vera wants to play.
I've got 1, 3, or 4.
Let's go 4.
Let's go for 4. Give us a short version of your favorite ghost story.
Thank you. Short version of my favorite ghost story. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. That's a big one. That is a big one. Well, what keeps coming up is the time when I was living in an apple orchard in a tenant house, and I was around 30. Why does this relate to a ghost story? I guess because I was out on a limb and I didn't know if my wish was going to come to fruition. I had my horse and buggy, and I had 3 little children with me, and it was up a long slope. And for some reason, I was having trouble with the horse, so dancing between taking care of these 3 children in my charge and the horse was pretty ghostly. That's it.
Yo!
You want to count for 1 more?
We do, yeah.
All right, Cindy.
Yay! Ha!
I've got 1 or 3.
3.
What are some of your childhood memories of Halloween?
I'm from the Northeast. Of course, right now the Northeast has gotten buried with snow and waves and all kinds of stuff from Sandy. But you really have not been trick-or-treating until you're walking through snow on October 31st in the pitch black and snow up to your knees. Of course, you know, when you're only about maybe 8 or 9 years old, the knees are a little bit closer to the ground. I was allowed to go to the neighbor on both sides of the house, one across the street and then another one across the street from the neighbor, because I played with the kids over in that house. Then we would get in the car and go visit the grandparents and show off the homemade Halloween costume. But it's not really a favorite. The other one is kind of, I have mixed emotions about this one. A girlfriend and I thought it would always be neat to egg a house and soak the windows. So the two of us picked a house, and it happened, there were 3 of us girls that were friends together. And we did that too. The other girlfriend wasn't with us, so we egged her house and you know, got the front porch slimy with raw eggs and put some bar soap on some screen windows. I never did it again, because the next morning I saw my best girlfriend's mother out there on a ladder scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing. And I go, oh, that's not fun, is it? Because my mother would always have me help her clean the windows in the spring and fall. And I know what that kind of chore was. I never egged and I never soaked another window. That broke me of doing the year following. Madam, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Do one more, Dan. You got time.
All right.
Now, Gene.
I'm
Let's
so
smack.
glad we had time for this. ladies.
Yeah! Saved by the bell.
You got one?
No!
What was the best costume you ever wore for Halloween?
Oh! Ha!
Do I go this direction or do I go this direction in terms of costumes?
Both.
Adult, kids. I think I'll stick with the kids.
Boo.
There may be time for an adult. But anyway, we were always moving. I was the eldest in our family, and my dad was in sales. We moved a lot. We always had boxes. All of our costumes related to boxes. I was a jack-in-the-box. Because you could put your little arms in the flaps of the thing and hold it up. It was perfect. I was also a washing machine, complete with tin foil around, but the boxes were really the key, and we always had them, so you just had to figure out what is the costume this year that's going to be box-shaped. Tricky part was if you were running and kind of going across yards, the terrain was a little bit rough, you couldn't see your feet. And I distinctly remember more than one time where I couldn't see what was going on with my feet, and I ended up rolling in my box because I couldn't see. So there was a hazard. For Seth, when I got older, I was never really a costume person after that when I got to be an adult. And I always felt bummed out to go to these parties and be required to come up with a costume, and I just never felt like I had what I needed. So I went ahead and bought a French-made costume. I just went, I'm going to have this thing, and it had, the complete deal. It had the, what do you call those little stockings with the fishnet stockings, and a little thing around here, just a little leotard and a couple little wristy things. I got a lot of mileage out of that. Mr. Tabletop.
Mr. Toastmaster, I don't think we can take any more.
You got to vote, yeah.
Oh, did everybody qualify, Tony?
Not quite everybody qualified. Vera qualified, Cindy qualified, and Jean qualified.
So please vote for Vera, Cindy, or Jean.
You're on.
Alrighty, we are ready to roll. We are going to introduce Stephanie Chambers in her French maid outfit to come on up.
Evaluate.
We're gonna all get mileage out of this.
Whoa!
So I must say I enjoyed tonight's topics and the way some people, the way everyone handled them. But I think there's a few points maybe people could look at to improve. So Riley, I thought you got off to a great start and you were really enthusiastic. And then because you couldn't think of something to relate to that topic, which I think a lot of us have experienced when we've done table topics, the mind goes blank in the area relating to that particular topic. But the trick you need to learn is it doesn't matter. You don't have to talk about that topic. You can decide to go off on a completely different tangent. And ideally, if you can just maybe mention the topic a little bit at the end or something, it helps. But it doesn't really even matter. There are no rules.
Okay.
You can do whatever you like. The topic might be activities associated with Halloween, but you might talk about how you like sport. You can talk about anything, really. Whatever comes into your mind. And if you can't think of something, if you just pause for a minute, something will pop into your mind. Even just being here or what sort of day you had. You can really talk about anything. And so that was my main suggestion to you. But I thought your enthusiasm was good and you just need to channel it to different ways.
Okay.
And then we had Vera, and she had to talk about a ghost story, which I think anyone would find challenging because most of us, I personally haven't seen any ghosts. So I thought she did a good job of giving us an interesting situation to think about. I mean, but I kept wanting to hear more details. Why was she with a horse and 3 kids? What's the horse's name? How did she end up in a situation? You know, there's lots of details you could do, Vera, to expand the topic. I know it's hard when you're on the spot, but I think the thing is don't get too locked into the topic. The same suggestion as Raleigh, that you don't have to talk about ghosts just because that was the topic. You can take it in a different direction. So that was my suggestion for Vera. But I love the situation though, and I would have liked it a bit more. And then Cindy gave us the story of her childhood memories of Halloween, and I thought it was good the way you stuck to the topic. But there was a little jump when you went from one story to the other, and you could maybe have explained a little bit more of why you were making that jump. And maybe, I thought maybe just a little focus more on perspective. Are you talking about what you remember as a child, or are you talking, I wasn't sure at the beginning whose legs were up to that. I think you then explained, but just always try and be clear as to what perspective you're talking about, whether you're talking about from when you were a child. And I love the way you ended up with not just a story, but you gave us a message as well. So that was really good. About not trashing people's houses. And my husband Scott was worried that our house was going to have that done to it tonight because we didn't. Well, no one knocked on the door, but we never didn't provide anything. And then, Jean, I loved your story about the boxes and how homemade, how innovative you were with boxes as a child. And I thought it was a lot of fun. Both stories were fun. I suppose if you can, it's hard when you're doing a table topic, but if you can think of some message, some moral of the story or something, to give a bit more of an emotional impact, that would help to make the fun even deeper. Okay, that's
We are ready to roll into the meat and potatoes, or as we say here, the spectral presence of meat and potatoes, which is tofu. All right. We are now going into the prepared speeches. Tom will come on up and he will read the objectives for John. Come on up, Tom.
Good, Tom. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored distinguished guests, but most especially everybody. Tonight, John is doing the icy breaker. He's got a 50-pound block of ice and a hammer and a pick, and he's going to go at it. So his objectives are to begin speaking before an audience, which we all know he's done this before. Not Toastmasters, but he knows how to speak. And to discover speaking skills he presently possesses, and skills that might need just a touch of improvement. I know John really well. He's going to illustrate the following points, but I have to tell you the title. The title of his speech is, I Always Wanted to Build a Cabin in the Woods. And he's going to illustrate the following spectral points. Living in the moment, fulfilling desires, temporarily body existence, and he will answer the following spectral questions in finality. Does little go into big, or does big go into little? And am I finite enough to be an infinite spectral being? Please welcome John Clark. Whoa!
Speakers, honored guests, and viewers at home. I always wanted to build a cabin in the woods. For the last 4 years, I have been working on building a wilderness cabin, an off-the-grid cabin in the woods. It's been very rewarding, fulfilling, and also, surprisingly, it has been a journey in self-referral. And I hope that I can illustrate that as we go along. It started in 1990. I saw an auction ad in a newspaper for a piece of land. Now, I've never really owned a piece of land other than the house that the land sits on. But I went to the auction. I made a big mistake. I brought my checkbook. I never intended to buy this land. But as the frenzy started in Iowa auctions, if you guys have ever been to any, you know what happens. When the dust settled, I bought a piece of land. Not only a piece of land, I bought 80 acres with a creek, a river, hills, and trees, and lots of trees. Well, as soon as the gavel landed, 10 potential neighbor friends of mine, rushed me and wanted to know who I was, where I was from, what I was going to do with the land, and how I had purchased this land in the middle of all of them and nobody knew who I was. So I told them the truth. I said, I have a wood stove, I want to cut some firewood. And boy, did they laugh. They thought that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. 80 acres of trees just to cut firewood for one wood stove. And so, I realized that what was so funny later on, but at the moment I thought it was serious. But anyway, buying this land to me was, coming from New York, a lot of land is the lot you put your house on. And a lot of land was 2 lots to put your house on. Now this was 80 acres, so to me it was an infinite size of land. And I could not fit that in my mind, that I owned 80 acres. I was the steward of 80 acres. And the feeling was one of fear. What am I going to do with this? And I'm trying to fit this in my mind, and my wife Jane is listening to me ruminate about this and fearful about this, and she's part Cherokee, so she knew land. So she said, don't try and fit the land into your mind, fit your self into the land. And as soon as she said that, that's just like I released into the land. It was sort of like the fear went away. And so it's sort of like the small limited I ego is trying to bring the whole infinite land into it, and it couldn't. It was just fear. So when she said just release into the land, I realized, well, if I'm the land and I'm infinite, then I can take the limited finite ego into it. And there's no fear. Now, I've just released into it, I've expanded to the size of the land, and there's no fear. So then, I have the land, now I need the cabin. And here's the cabin. My first cabin. There you go. It's a school bus, it was converted, it has some racks in it for sleeping, a wood stove, and this served as our cabin for 15 years. The kids and I would go up there and fish and cut firewood, and we had a great time. But then, as time, nothing stays the same. 4 years ago, my father passed. And when we lose a loved one, what we learn is that life is temporary. So being in this body is a temporary thing. So if you have things you want to do, you better hurry up and do it. So I decided I'd start on my cabin. And in Iowa, when you start any project, the first thing you do is a trip to Menards. Well, here's the wood back from the first trip to Menards. Okay? It's a spectral view of what the cabin's going to look like. We had a saying, after 4 years of many trips to Menards, it's like the carpenters say, measure twice, cut once. We said, measure twice, cut once, and go back to Menards. So, it was tough for me to work on the cabin because I'm not used to a project that has more than 2 parts, beginning and end. That's my ADD. So, instant gratification is what I sought. But to do a project like this, you have it's task after task after task, and you have to be able to get this instant gratification while you're doing every little thing. So what I discovered was I can actually get instant gratification by getting it in every instant. And so it brought me in the moment, it was therapy, and it kept me grounded. The last picture, this is what the cabin ends up looking like. Okay. The window, I tried to use recycled goods wherever I could. And the window came from Ron Beauard, my friend. He has a stained glass company, and they took that out of a church. That window there, that was the front door to the Fairfield Library. They had the 2 glass doors, and I bought them like 15 years ago at an auction and stored them. And right now I'm completing the interior with insulation and paneling. So I would highly recommend that anybody who has any type of motor skills would want to try to build like a birdhouse or a people's house, and you'll learn a lot about who you are through that journey. Thank you very much.
Yo!
Wonderful talk of John, who just came out of his birdhouse. And since Tom has brought out the challenge of the spectral presence that we are, I remind everybody that, again, we are not real spectral presence. Okay, so next.
Wait.
2
minutes.
2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes evaluation. Yes. Take your time.
Tell us why we should read.
All right, and we are back. Darlene did a dance for us, and Diane will now talk. And she will be evaluating Seth and Marlene. Come on up.
Yo!
Thank you, Toastmasters.
Yay!
Good evening, everyone. Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, happy Halloween Eve. Tonight, two fabulous, experienced Toastmasters are going to speak. Marilyn Graber, Seth Braun. They have already completed the first assignment in the communicator manual. They did 10 speeches. After that, you get to choose from these advanced manuals, and one of them is communicating on television. Seth is going to be doing project number 2 called The Talk Show. He's the guest on the show. Marilyn is going to be doing number 3. She is the host. So this is your Halloween Eve talk show night. Talk shows have become very, very popular. So I read in the talk show night. Seth's objectives as the guest. To understand the dynamics of a television interview or talk show. To prepare for the questions that may be asked of you during a television interview program. To present a positive image on the television camera. To appear as a guest on a simulated television talk show. Now I'd like to call up the evaluator for, no, I'm not going to do
Give
that.
Marilyn's objectives.
I do that?
Yes.
Jean, would you like to come up and join me? Or I'll leave and you come up and
Just a quick one here this time.
Marilyn's?
Thank you. Let's see here.
Okay, let's do that.
The evaluation.
The buddy system.
Yes. Marilyn's objectives as the interviewer is to conduct a successful television interview, to understand the dynamics of a successful television interview or talk show, to prepare questions to ask during the interview program, to present a positive, confident image on the television program, or on the television camera. Thank you.
Welcome to our new edition of Toastmasters TV. I'm your host, my name is Marilyn, and tonight we are very lucky to have a very special guest, Seth Braun. We all know him. He is a very special golden speaker. Seth, I don't know what to say, how to introduce you. Author, professional speaker, has written 3 books, 2 on the bestseller list, 150 public presentations, musician, what else? Visionary.
Father.
Seth.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know you have just had a very successful book launch. So can you give us all just a little heads up, a little teaser, why we should go out and buy your book?
Yeah, absolutely. The book begins with the line, we live in an age of overwhelm. To live well in the age of overwhelm means having a compelling vision, taking meaningful action, developing confidence and courage. And this particular formula, I think, is relevant to everyone who is alive today, who's motivated, passionate, and intelligent, because the problem for the people that I work with is not lack of motivation, not lack of passion or intelligence. It really is that they are getting distracted by all the possibilities that they have at their disposal, and they're overwhelmed with all that there is to do at any given day to move particular goals forward.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're creative, if you think holistically, big picture, these are the kind of tools that you need, because it's a different set of problems for people who are new paradigm, holistic thinking, creative thinking, than it is for people who are just in achiever mode. Because if you're just in achiever mode and you just hog at the trough, let me get as much as I can, elbow people out of the way, the rules are simple. You set a goal and you work hard.
Wow, that
Right?
is really fascinating. So that kind of describes the title, Indestructible Success. This is a different kind of success.
Mm-hmm.
Now, could you give us 3 qualities that have made you successful as an author? For example, if you had someone come to you and you were he was a coaching client or you're mentoring, how would you mentor him? What advice would you give him for an upcoming aspiring author?
That's a great question. First of all, if you want to make money, don't write books. That would be my first piece of advice. It's not for people who think like, well, I'll write a book and I'll make a lot of money. It's for people, for me, I like writing books. And I want to write books my whole life. And I think by the time I've written, a dozen books, I'll be pretty good at it, and I'll have attained also financial success in it as well. But to answer your question, you have to be good at self-promotion, and it's difficult, I think, for most people. It's difficult for me. I don't really like doing it, but I had to get clear. I'm more invested in people getting the information, knowledge, and experience of this book than I am in being comfortable or playing it safe in terms of my dislike of self-promotion. So I had to get past that because I really think the book is valuable for a lot of people, and I want them to have the inspiration.
That's wonderful. So you are in Toastmasters. This brings up this question. How has Toastmasters really helped you on your journey to becoming a professional speaker? We just heard an icebreaker. We all started with our icebreaker. You did too. Now you're a professional speaker.
Yeah.
How did Toastmasters help
Well,
you?
Toastmasters was essential. Really, it was the platform that took me from good to great. I mean, it's cliche, but it's true, because when I started at Toastmasters, I had great presence, and I could command an audience's attention. But the particular skills, I was getting by kind of on charm and charisma and enthusiasm, but the skillfulness hadn't really honed the craft. And so I'm still honing the craft. And the difference between talent and skill is that some people are born with talent, but the people who succeed in any endeavor are people who really develop skill. And I remember when I was young, I had my dad had two friends, both were guitar players. One was born natural talent, just shredded. But he didn't practice. He never really hit a professional piece. Another guy just didn't have any talent, had just all thumbs, but he practiced and practiced and practiced, and he learned how to do things that allowed him to gig and be a professional musician. So I remembered that. I didn't remember a lot from my adolescence, but that's as a life lesson that sticks with me, that you have to beat on your craft to develop skill, and Toastmasters gives me that eye contact, using space, pause, vocal variety, all of these details that are invaluable.
Right, wow, that's great. Now, Seth is a family man, as you all know. He loves his beautiful wife. He adores his beautiful children. So tell us a little bit about Seth, the family man. Tell us a few fun facts.
Sure. Well, success is on a spectrum. It's a spectral line from, complete dismal failure to, really bright, shining success. There is no binary between black, white, yes and no. Everyone's on a spectrum of success. And in my family life, I have treaded the spectrum from probably ignorant and in the dark to at least awake to what I need to do to be present with my kids and my wife. I wouldn't say that I have achieved phenomenal success, but by being present, listening, and just spending time with my family, that's the best thing I can do.
That's great. That's certainly going in the right direction. Okay, Seth, so you are a very creative person. We can all tell that. So can you give us a little hint? What's your next project around the corner?
Wow, I wish I knew what the next... I have a bunch of projects. I don't know which one's going to come up. I have a children's book I've been working on because I tell my kids a bedtime story about a mouse named Miniacello with 13 brothers and sisters, seven sisters and 6 brothers, all with M names. Marie Bella, Marie Antoinette, Manchego.
This sounds great.
and so that's something I'm working on.
Okay, wonderful. So tell us once more where we can get a copy of Indestructible Success.
I would love to tell folks as we wrap up. Amazon.com, and here in town you can get it at Revelations.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful evening.
Welcome back, everybody. What a great talk we just heard. And before Cindy comes on up, I want to mention again Seth's book. I mention this because I actually bought this book. So everyone at home, consider buying Seth's book, because guess what? Seth's in there. We all need a little bit of Seth in our life, don't we?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Cindy will now be coming up to be talking about Arthur's fantastic talk that he's about to give. Cindy, come on up.
Yo!
Art Atkinson is speaking from one of the advanced manuals. This one he's working from is called Persuasive Speaking. And he's doing project number 1. It's the Effective Salesperson Project. His objectives are to learn a technique for selling an inexpensive object or product in a retail store. Recognize a buyer's thought processes in making a purchase. To elicit information from a prospective buyer through his questions. And finally, to match the buyer's situation with the most appropriate product. To introduce Art, he's been a member of Golden Speaker for about 5 years, and he is currently serving as treasurer of this club. He has also been working as a wellness coach for a little over 5 years as part of a team that runs Fairfield Nutrition on the Square. Art has lived in Fairfield since 1986. He grew up in California, and his children, Evan and Willow, live now in Los Angeles. His 91-year-old mother lives in Santa Rosa, California, where she's an active printmaker, photographer, and college student. 91 years old.
Wow.
What a family. Please join me in warmly welcoming Art Atkinson as he gives his speech called The Button Response. The Button Response.
Thank you, Cindy. Good evening, Toastmasters, guests, and viewers at home. I'm using this little device on silent to measure time. We're going to be giving about overall 12-minute talk. I work as a wellness coach. I'm in business for myself. And of all the spectrum of requirements for an effective business person, learning to secure a customer is one of the most basic. About 31 years ago, the founder of Herbalife International, the company with which I work, invented this gimmick called the button. And it has a sole purpose, and that purpose is to stimulate a conversation with someone. The group of people who work with Herbalife International, the distributor force, which is a large group of people, is one of the largest mastermind groups on the planet, and has over time developed a conversation in response to somebody asking a question about the button. Now, you all have been present, many of you, when references to these buttons comes up. So you know they do work. But I haven't yet actually gone through with you and showed you what the button response is all about. The button response is designed to help me understand what a person's health goals may be and how and to what degree I can help them, and how urgent and important it is for them. So my partner in tonight's venture is Darlene Martin, who's agreed to actually have this conversation in front of all of you about this button and whatever it may be that interests her about it. And we'll have that conversation. We have talked about what the conversation is, but we haven't rehearsed it, so you're going to actually see it happen live. Darlene, please join me.
Yo!
Thank you very much for participating. So the scenario is we're just out and about somewhere, and she runs into me. We have this conversation about the button, and then we continue and we meet at my place of business to have a more thorough discussion about her interests. Hi, Darlene. I haven't seen you in a while.
Hi, Art. How you doing?
I'm great. Good to see you.
You look good. You look good.
You've been missing from Toastmasters for a while.
Yeah, I know. Shame, shame, shame. Oh, what's this button you have there?
Oh, you noticed that thing?
Yeah.
It's like a satellite dish, eh?
Almost hit me.
Are you interested in weight loss?
I am. Yeah.
Really?
I used to lose a few pounds.
About how much would you like to lose?
I probably like to lose about 25 pounds.
I see.
Yeah.
What have you tried so far?
Well, I did try Weight Watchers a few years ago, and I did lose weight, and I was happy with it, and I kept it off for several years. But honestly, I got tired of counting points.
I see.
And calculating and measuring food, so I basically gave up on it.
I see. But it worked for you.
It did work for me. It did.
Any other programs that you tried?
I tried something for a period of time where it was a powder that you put with a liquid, whether it was water or soy milk. And I did lose some weight on that, but I ended up not liking how it tastes. So that wasn't very effective either, as you can see.
I see. How important is it to lose the weight? Is that something you're just curious about, or is it like you've got a date by which you want to have it done?
Well, I actually do have some motivation because I'm going back to Pennsylvania around the holidays, and I'll be seeing my family and attending a wedding for my niece.
Ah, like to look good for a wedding.
I would.
I'll tell you what.
Vanity.
If I can show you how to get that 25 pounds off without having to count a lot of points and with something that you actually enjoy eating, would you be interested in finding out more about how that works?
Yeah, I would be.
Okay.
I'd like to know also like the cost of it and what's involved. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd be
Well,
open to that
how about,
conversation.
takes about 20 minutes to go through the details with you.
Okay.
How about we meet over at Fairfield Nutrition, which is where I work,
Oh, okay.
and we'll go through that. Would it work at 2 o'clock for you this afternoon?
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, here we are at Fairfield Nutrition. Have a seat, darling. So, in order to help you, let me just explain that Fairfield Nutrition is a kind of a combination between a coffee shop, where it's just a nice, comfortable atmosphere for people to sit and have a drink and chat with a friend, a smoothie bar. We actually run the kitchen from 7:30 in the morning to 2:30 every day, 2 o'clock. A vitamin store, because we have a large range of nutritional supplements available for purchase here if a person wants that, and a wellness coaching clinic. Really, all of this is designed to make the wellness coaching center part of it work best. All of the rest of that is designed to support we have classes here, we have various
So do they taste good?
clubs.
That's all I care about. How do they taste?
Glad that you asked.
What flavors do you have?
We're very popular as strawberry banana.
Okay.
It doesn't happen to be my favorite. I happen to be real interested in cafe latte and mocha type shakes. But we do make smoothies here. Here's the thing to know about them. They're actually not just something tasty to drink, but they're actually a meal. Our company is actually not a weight loss outfit. We are a nutrition company, operate in 86 countries, have millions and millions of customers, and not all of them want to lose weight. Many of them want to
Do I have to
get
come and get
healthy.
weighed then, like every couple of weeks? Or?
If you like. We actually recommend once a week. Would it help you to know that we can help get the 25 pounds off? And the simple story is we can teach you how to make a smoothie for yourself, any of 60 or 100 varieties, until you just decide on a few that you'd like to make for yourself. Lots of variety. Have one for breakfast. Have a mid-morning snack. Have one for lunch. Have a mid-afternoon snack. Have a standard supper with your family. Does that sound like something that you could do?
Yeah, so my question is, how much does this cost? Like Weight Watchers, you pay a membership fee every month, and then when you go to the weekly meetings, you pay as well. So what's the...
Okay, so
What's the catch here?
A person who has, what's the catch?
Yeah, what's the catch?
Okay, supposing there's no catch. Supposing it's just good nutrition for you,
Okay.
that you get
I don't have to sign anybody else up.
Hmm?
I don't have to sign anybody else up. I don't have to sign anybody. It's not like this network thing where I can
We
just
are
come.
a network marketing company.
But if I don't want to do that, I don't have to, right?
You
I
don't
can just
have to.
come to reach my
You can
goals,
either
what I
have
wanna do.
us make smoothies for you, or, and this is what we teach everybody, how to do exactly at home, what we do here, and save a bunch of money in the process.
So I can do it, okay.
Now, I warn you, when you lose 25 pounds, people are going to notice. And they're going to ask you how you did it. So here's what I want you to say.
I'm going to send them to you,
I have a coach, and he can help you too. Send them my way.
I will send it to you.
Does that work for you?
That totally works for me.
Okay. So,
Really, I feel relieved, thank you.
just to be real brief about it, because I know we're on a schedule. We have 3 programs, one of which is right for a person who has somewhere between 15 and 45 or 50 pounds to lose. And it's
Okay.
called, this program is called an advanced program. And you'd be able to get it for $3.76 a meal, or $186.74 would cover 2 meals a day for a month for you, 60 meals. So that is actually less expensive than buying groceries, $3.76 a meal. Does that sound like something that you could
That
want to move forward
honestly
with?
is a little bit pricey for me right now.
Okay.
I mean, do you have any modifications to that? Because I honestly don't have that in my budget.
Okay, not a problem. You can start with just the Formula One shake mix that makes the smoothies that we're talking about.
Is that two shakes a day, or could you go down to
And
one
2
a
of
day?
these canisters would provide you with 60 meals. That's 2 meals a day for a month.
Okay.
And you'd be missing a lot of the things that we know are going to make the progress quicker and easier for you, but it'll work.
How much is that?
And this would cost you $80 to give you 2 meals a day for a month. And I
Yeah,
haven't done the
that's
math,
more doable.
but that's like $1.10 a meal.
Yeah. So what if, and if I exercise in addition to that, that would be helpful?
Yes, it would. Exercise is terrific, but it's not mandatory. See, here's the thing. Is
Well,
that
that'll help it, that'll speed things up
It
then,
will.
right? When you
It
do the
will.
wellness coach, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Exercise would, okay.
And exercise is the flip side of the nutrition coin. The two work hand in hand. What I'm doing by providing you with these programs is giving you very high density nutrition without a lot of calories.
So then, is there an extra cost, like to come and get weighed in?
No, I don't charge you for that.
Okay, so
The beauty
it's
of it
not
is
like
that you
a
get me as a
weekly-
coach for free if you can stand it.
I like you, so that's
That would work for you?
That works for me.
Okay. There's a philosophy here, and that is our products are not available in stores. If you went to buy some health and nutrition product at Walmart, they wouldn't call you up the next day to find out how did it taste, is it working for you. They won't call you on day 3 to say, are you noticing any changes, can I help? We do. You get a coach along with the product, and the coach's intention is to make sure that you get the product results that we know that it'll deliver. Does that sound like something?
Yeah.
So here's the
That
thing,
sounds good.
I'm going to give you a money-back guarantee,
Money
but
back
you have to
guarantee.
be willing to work with me as a coach so that we can make adjustments and make sure that you're getting results. Is
So
that
what
okay?
does that mean?
That means that I call you up on the phone,
How
and we
often,
have
how often are you calling me?
day 1, day 3, day 7, day 14, 5-minute conversation about how you're doing.
That's kind of intense.
And then about once a month thereafter. Just to verify that you're still getting your results.
Does email count too, or
Yeah,
phone
it
calls? That counts too. Okay.
You're not. Yes, we're done.
Yo!
Okay.
Wonderful talk, Art. Thank you. And Darlene, I love your laugh. You just so lighten up the room when you laugh. Well, now 2 minutes to evaluate, and we are voting for the best speaker, which we know who it will be because only one person qualified. But we're going to hold that in suspense. Will Burns, come on up and talk to us about the general evaluator.
Scott, thank you. My job is to kind of act here as the, sort of take the Toastmaster, I'm kind of the Toastmaster for the evaluators. I have to kind of speak and I have to kind of keep the ball rolling here. This meeting is starting to roll here at a pretty good pace, so I'm going to keep us moving along here and introduce our first evaluator, Tom Trainer.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, viewers at home, but most especially John. First time up here, wonderful.
Wow.
Let me give you what I'm going to read off the book. I'm going to follow the points. What strong points does this spectral speaker already have? He has strong spectral presence. His spectral presence fills this whole building. He has a rich, solid, friendly voice. You really do, John. You got a wonderful voice. And you're a fabulous storyteller. You've learned that as a salesperson over the years. John does run his own business. He's learned how to sell. How well did the audience get to know you? So the spectral essence of who he was in the grand scope. This is what I learned in 46 minutes. He's got a wife and he's got kids. He came out of New York City. His reference to land was based on New York City experience. He's got ADD. He wants instant gratification. And there were other things that he told us in 46 minutes. That tells you a lot about who he is. And how did he do that? He told us a story. But in the story were all the details that were the essence of your character. Did the speech reflect adequate preparation? Well, it absolutely did, because it was a personal story. How much more could you be prepared as to tell a story that you've been living for how many years? 20?
A million.
Yeah, a million years. Did John talk clearly and audibly? Very. He's used to delivering no matter what, because you work in a place with a lot of noise, so he's used to communicating on a solid basis. Speech have a definite beginning, opening, body, and conclusion. Well, what I really liked was the opening part where I went to an auction with my checkbook. Now that immediately set up the, oh my God, have we all been to an auction with our checkbook? Yes. Then you did the story about leading up to the school bus, which was great. Again, that's where you told us about the wife and the kids. And then you showed us the conclusion, which is the building. Use the notes, very minimal, because it was a personal story. What it looked like you had, which is an outline, which if you're doing personal stories, that's all you need for notes, is an outline. Just A, B, C, D. And eventually you get so you can do the outline up here. What could you have done differently? What I'd like to have seen you do, maybe do it, take larger pieces of paper like cardboard, put your pictures on them, they're really easy to use. Your notes could have been on larger pieces. And your little graphic about little into big, that could have been much better if it was big. We all could have seen. Because you're talking about big, but you had this little frickin' piece of paper. You know? Big didn't go in very well. What did I absolutely like about the whole presentation? Great personal story, good use of your pictures and your props, and a fabulous ability to tell stories. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Tom. And now up next, we have Diane Denbaum.
Good evening again, Seth. This is an honor to do because I'm sure I'll be sitting watching a lot of talk shows and think, way back, I evaluated him. I'm going to use the manual. How well prepared was the speaker and what indicated this? To me, he appeared to be very well prepared. And what indicated that was he was just constantly in conversation and making really great points and interesting points. So he seemed prepared to me. How effectively did the speaker answer the questions? Did the speaker show enthusiasm? They were very effective. I noticed he used humor. I noticed that he used, especially when he talked about his daughters, he kind of went into this thing about the spectrum, which there's a spectrum in raising children and there's a spectrum in Seth's work. I liked that. So there were a lot of points there. Show enthusiasm, yes, in that TV-like way. Now and again, a suggestion there would be, perhaps the manual says you should sit in a calm, relaxed position, not a lot of shoulder moving, but now and again, maybe a little lean forward. There was something back here that said to point that out, so that would be a suggestion. How did the speaker use a story or anecdote to illustrate or emphasize a point? Again, that dad story. Oh, no, the story about the guitar players. Perfect use of story. Again, tying that into what you would be suggesting to people in your book, Indestructible Success by Seth Braun.
Available on Amazon at all times.
That was fantastic. I was pulled in by that. And I loved how you said that was one thing I learned when I was an adolescent. So that's a great appeal to adolescents who want to buy Seth's book. Did the speaker appear relaxed, confident, and poised? And it asks about gestures. I went to the back of the book, or actually in this part, you have to keep your gestures closer to you. So that, you know, you're a great span when you went out with it like that. I don't think that works for TV.
Doesn't.
That's good. Thank you.
Yes. And then how did the speaker's appearance, clothing, etc. work? You met a lot of criteria. You don't wear anything shiny, jewelry. You don't want things sparkling. But your suit and colors do match the backdrop, and they said find out what the backdrop will be. So you matched. And I don't want that light to go any further without my saying that you'd be very effective as a speaker on a real talk show. No doubt about it. Anyone have any doubt? Raise their hand. No one. I knew it. One suggestion for improvement, the pen. That was a distraction. Did it distract anyone else? It was clicking, it was moving, and I was torn between Seth and the pen. So no pens, dear heart. And then I'm wondering, when a person gets asked a question, when we say, that's a great question, I don't know if that's overdone, and I'll end on that point. Thank you, Seth, and good luck.
Yay!
Thank you, Diane. And now, Jean Simonton Craig to evaluate Marilyn Graber.
Yo!
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, and particularly Marilyn, how well prepared was the speaker? I thought she had good questions, and she went from professional to personal as we got to know Seth more in the interview. How effective did the speaker lead the interview? Were the questions clear? Were they in logical sequence? Again, yes, I think she got us acquainted for why Seth was on the program, what was his accomplishments, and then we got to know Seth a little bit more. What was the guest field of expertise? Did the speaker make this clear in the presentation? Yes. And what I really liked about Marilyn is that she conveyed a proper appreciation, I felt, of the guest's accomplishments. She said, well, he's done this, he's done that, and what else? And I mean, he's just done everything. So she was setting us up for, wow, this is a really cool guest that we're going to be listening to. I like that. I also liked, the question here is, did the speaker appear relaxed, confident, and poised? Were gestures, body movements appropriate for the special requirements of television? I really liked the way Marilyn smiled and the way she interacted with the guest. I just felt she was really enjoying the conversation that she was having with the guest. That made me feel comfortable. How well did the speaker relate to the television camera and the studio audience? Was eye contact with the camera made at the appropriate times? Basically, the manual says that when she's introducing him and greeting him, actually introducing him, she's talking to us, the audience, so she should be talking to the camera. However, when she's talking to the guest and asking questions, then the focus is on the guest. And I thought Marilyn did a good job with that. Part of it, I watched her. Appearance. Did it contribute to the presentation? I would say fine, although the sneaks. I would try some different footwear there. Just saying. Suggestion from Marilyn. And this, Diane actually started to touch on this, but this would be my big suggestion for Marilyn, would be to use some different types of phrases or variety of words for comments other than wonderful and great. Seth would say something, that is wonderful. You'd say something else, that was great. Some examples could be just intriguing, insightful, clarifying, and maybe just not to say that was this, but put in some things like, this would be an example, your comments caused me to think how to apply them in my own life. Something that gives a little different sentence structure and word choice than the ones that you used, I think would jazz up the interview. Other than that, I really liked the chemistry that you had with Seth. He did seem to visibly relax with your questions and get into it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jean. And now, Cindy Trainer for Art Atkinson.
Thank you, Will. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests, viewers at home, but most especially Art, the effective salesperson, and the button response. Like everyone else, I'm going to follow the advanced manual for persuasive speaking. How well did the speaker explain the persuasive process used in retail sales of inexpensive items? Well, he wasn't selling the button, but he was selling the product and the idea. But you gave us a very good explanation, which I've wondered about myself, about where the idea for a button came from and how it's used to pull out, to introduce yourself to your prospective clients. So he explained the use and creation of the button. Was the speaker able to build rapport with the potential buyer? Yes. And I liked your quote here. You can use me as a coach for free if you can stand it. I liked your humor in many instances, and the fact that you were on their side. You were pulling questions out of Darlene to find out what her goals were, and then you were on her side saying, and I quote, I can help you achieve this. The questions that you used were very effective, I think, in getting out what her goals were, how soon it was, and that you explained this all up front in the very beginning. And it was all done to the point where it sounded seamless. You weren't referring to notes, you weren't and umming, trying to remember what you were supposed to say next. All these pieces fit together and there were no dead ends. Even when the issue about, well, I can't afford this, can we do something less? There were no dead ends. You just kept rolling with what Darlene was asking. The speaker, what did he do to show attentiveness and concern for the buyer? He had direct eye contact. It's like 100% focus was on Darlene. We didn't exist. This audience out front of you did not exist. Your whole focus was Darlene. And that was very obvious to me how that came across. You were totally focused. You appear to be very knowledgeable about the product. Your intro to your guest was different throughout, not in a narrow range, which would be evident, and that would show a limited knowledge of the product if you kept on responding in the same way, but you had a very broad range of responses to her, so that shows you know a lot about your product and what it can do for them. And there's a lot more. I'm running out of time. Art, I really liked your speech, and I really didn't really find anything that could be improved. You did so well. But there's one item I'll explain later. Mr. Yes, Mr. Germany.
All right, thank you, Cindy. And now we will vote for our favorite evaluator, and there's 5 of them. Did all of them qualify?
No. Tom qualified, Diane, Cindy, and Jean. Tom, Diane, Cindy, and Jean.
Okay.
Okay, let's fire off the rolls here. First off, let's hear from our timer, Darlene Martin.
Yay!
Raleigh was 45 seconds. Vera was 1 minute 10 seconds. Cindy was 2 minutes 12 seconds. Jean was 2 minutes 15 seconds. These were all for tabletop speakers. Evaluators. Stephanie was 3 minutes and 32 seconds. Tom Trainer was 3 minutes and 1 second. Diane was 3 minutes 24 seconds. Cindy was 3 minutes 29 seconds. Jean was 3 minutes and 5 seconds. Prepared speeches, John was 6 minutes 26 seconds. Seth and Marilyn were 7 minutes and 32 seconds. Art was, based on what I've been told, I think it was around 13 minutes and 30 seconds. There we have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. And now, let's hear from our odd counter, Jean Simonton Cray.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Fasten your seatbelt.
Dan, 1 so. Raleigh,
Oh, yeah.
6 ahs or ums, 1 you know, 1 kinda.
Okay.
I look for words that people are using that aren't necessarily on this list. There's a lot of them. Vera, 2 ahs, 1 double word, double dribble, and 1 and. Cindy, 1 so, 4 you knows, 4 double dribbles, 4 ands, 1 kinda.
John is the only qualifier.
Jean, I think there's 2 ands and 1 anyway.
But anyway.
But anyway. Stephanie, 1 ah, 2 so's, 1 you know, 3 double dribbles, 4 ands, and 1 I mean. Tom, 1 so. Okay, John. John, this is your icebreaker, so we don't worry about this. 17 ahs or ums.
How many?
17.
17?
Ahs or ums. You'll just get better.
Okay.
10 so's, 1 you know, 2 double dribbles, 1 like, and 1 and, 1 but, 2 nows, now, and then well, 2 wells, well, okay. Seth. 17 ahs and ums, 3 so's, 4 you knows, 9 double dribbles, 2 likes, 2 ands, 1 kinda, 1 I mean. Marilyn, 2 lip smacks. It's like like Halloween and candy and all that. 2 ahs, ums, 3 so's, 1 double dribble, 2 nows, now, and then 1 well. And then Diane, 1 so, 1 you know, 1 and. Did I do art? Did I do you art?
Nope. I didn't
Okay.
hear it yet.
All right, art. 2 ahs, ums, 1 so, 1 double dribble. That's my report.
Yay!
Well, this paper seems a little spectral to me at the moment, a little illusory. It's very messy, but I thoroughly enjoyed being grammarian. There were so many things that added to this meeting because I was looking for something special. I thought Raleigh did a nice job. I'm trying not to evaluate. Raleigh did a nice job by setting the scene, saying Halloween was a mischievous night together in our teepees. I wanted to hear more. And Scott was very raucous tonight and playfully said, spectral, who we are, but of course that too is an illusion. Setting the scene for Halloween, he also mentioned that John came out of his birdhouse and that we were going to roll into meat and potatoes with the speeches. So that was great. Jean, I liked the idea that you were an expert at boxes. It was so simple that you brought this square little box, and you're such an organic person. It made the scene more playful for Halloween. And we'll skip the maid bit. And when you said you were going to count consistent distractions that we do with our bodies, I liked that. That was a piece of information I never heard before here at Toastmasters. Vera's table topic, she mentioned a wish. She was wondering if her wish would come true, and her description of trouble with the horse, that the horse was pretty ghostly, almost made spectral. Stephanie, I liked it when you said there were no rules, and that the person one of the people you were evaluating, you said he channeled his to channel his enthusiasm into different areas or ways. That was Raleigh. I'm gonna take more than 2 minutes, I think. Are you timing me?
No.
Oh, you should be.
We gotta wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Okay. Wrap it up. All right. I'll wrap it up with Darlene then. She said, shame, 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 and then she, shame, shame, shame. Then she laughed so gleefully, the room glowed. Thank you. It was a tie between Tom and Scott for spectral. They both had 5, and John had 1.
Not 17?
Yeah.
Now, Joe.
Hey, Joe,
Do you have time?
one quickie, very quickie.
Very quick.
All right. At last, a caring attorney. One afternoon, a wealthy attorney was riding in his limousine when he saw 2 men along the roadside eating grass. Disturbed, he ordered the driver to stop, and he got out to investigate. He asked one man, "Why are you eating grass?" "We don't have any money for food," the poor man replied. "We have to eat grass." "Well, then you can come with me to my house and I'll feed you," the attorney said. "But sir, I have a wife and 2 children with me. They are over there, under that tree." "Bring them along," the attorney replied. Turning to the other poor man, he stated, "You come with us also." The second man, in a pitiful voice, then said, "But sir, I have a wife and 2 children with me." "Bring them all as well," the attorney answered. They all entered the car, which was no easy task, even for a car as large as the limousine was. Once underway, one of the poor fellows turned to the attorney and said, "Sir, you are too kind. Thank you for taking all of us with you. The attorney replied, glad to do it. You'll really love my place. The grass is almost a foot high.
Now I feel that this grass is growing so much from our being here, I have to nod down very quickly here to get done. So I will fulfill my role as general evaluator while still maintaining the calm and poise I need to finish on time to fulfill my duty as president, which won't happen, but we'll try to get close as we can. Okay, from the top here. Stephanie, you did a great job with your advice. You had good advice for Raleigh on his second time up here, and really went for his, for the enthusiasm of speaking, and you really did a good job of bringing out techniques they could use in speaking, and that also held true for Cindy, between going from one to the other in her topics. Okay, you did a really good job also of relating to the speakers. However, I feel that I would recommend, if I had one recommendation, I would say try to be careful about that, because it unfortunately caused you to have to rush a little bit with Jean. And that was the one thing that didn't give Jean all the juice that she really could use there at the end. So, okay, moving on to John and Tom. John, even though this was your icebreaker, your experienced speaker, I feel like you have a great ability to be funny, but not comedic. You come out here, not really a joker, but you can kind of relate to the humor of life. And this time you did it before with the trying to buy Indian corn. Always gets a good relating chuckle out of the audience. Okay, let's see, Tom, you had good gestures. You read from the manual, which is always a good technique to use. And actually, I was going to ding you for staying in one place, but that's what everybody did as an evaluator, and I'm starting to wonder if that's kind of what's expected. And I'm realizing now as I do this, I kind of stay put. And it's hard to really express in such a short amount of time. One advice I have for John, the props, and Tom also got this as well, but I thought the props were kind of messy. You can take the time. We can actually help you out by moving the lectern if that's required, so you have more room to put down your notes and your cards. Okay, Seth and Marilyn. You guys are both experienced speakers. I feel I really should acknowledge you both. This was an advanced manual speech, one I wasn't very familiar with. I know you guys had some hurdles there to overcome initially. That's one thing I would recommend, is more familiarity with the material. However, this is the first time I've actually heard Seth use a number of filler words. And I want to commend both of you for doing that, for really pushing yourselves out of your comfort zone. And this is something I should do as well, to take on more of the advanced roles and the advanced manuals, because we don't remember them either. Now I come to Art and Darlene. Watching two salespeople, different types. So and I just want to acknowledge the evaluator, which was Cindy. She addressed the direct eye contact, but I feel that I did notice Art occasionally did look up. You did have kind of a moment where you lost that focus, but in general, I mean, you really had a solid grasp, very confident, very experienced with that, and Cindy as well. The one thing I'd ask from you, because you did such a good job of being so thorough with your advice, is to include that recommendation, because evaluation is really for all of us to take part in, and I think that's where a lot of value from. So if we could have heard what that last item was, I would have loved to have heard that as well. And with that, I'm for that to actually give my advice to Diane and Gene Simonton offline. So, Scott?
Yo! Thank you, Will. And as we wrap up quickly here, I will present the awards for tonight's But I must mention to Tom out there, before I disappear into my spectral presence, that it's some more time. All right, who will win the best table topics? Gene!
Yo! The French maid! Oh no! Go! French maid.
French maid. There
Next
goes
year,
the
next
gift.
year.
All right, we're moving along briskly. Okay, last chance.
Spectral, very spectral.
Thank you. As Tom disappears into his spectral presence because he does not exist in reality. And we know that. We now come to the best speaker of the night. Who could it be? Who could it be? I don't know. There's only so many choices that are out there. John! It's a double award night because you get the icebreaker. And for me, on your first night,
Pulling the award up on the front desk.
Yes.
that's right.
Marketing. No, you gotta take it to work with you.
This one I have to take.
Yeah.
Yes. Promote Toastmasters. We bow down to our great president, Will.
Yo!
Finish us off quickly.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, with that, if you could all just stick around for a few minutes, help clean up, pick up the chairs, put them all in place, and get everything moved out. However, before we do that, from our guests, Raleigh, your experience tonight, what was it like?
The problem I have, like, if I'm not in front of people, standing at the front of a room, I can have a conversation just fine, you know? I don't know what it is about going up in front of people. I lock up so quick, though. So
You're a human?
I need practice on
Practice.
perpetuating,
That's it.
you know,
That's it.
self-perpetuating
That's all it is.
speech.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Sign up for that course.
You know, and it's really a process. You push yourself, Seth, Marilyn, Rhonda, we all push ourselves in our own way to do that. And, yeah. Great.
I definitely enjoyed all aspects of the meeting tonight. We all had so much fun. We went way over time, and we even froze time apparently. All that coherence must be too much meditation or something. Anyway, I really enjoyed especially enjoyed the talk show between those two. It was almost as if I was watching it.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to commend Art too. He's very thorough in his sales, and there's a lot of notes that I could take in his business mind. So I just wanted to thank all of you. And I forgot your name. Scott. Scott's really innovative, really funny, and I really appreciate that. It lightens everything up. So.
I will raise you to your lively special evening. Meeting adjourned.